What's up, everybody? It's Cage back with another episode. It's been a crazy couple of weeks in the hobby. People getting excited about stuff, you name it. Talk about it. I have a fun little title today. Today's episode, sponsored by Bleecker Trading, sponsored by My Slabs, and sponsored by Arena Club. We've added a third. If you like how that sounds and you want to hear your company's name at the beginning of the episode, send me a message. You know where to find me. All right, let's just jump right into it because it's free content brought to you by those sponsors. Crazy stuff. Lots to talk about bounties, lots to talk about whether or not cards are being manipulated. And obviously, some of the stuff we talked about, we beat the hell out of the Star Jordan card, but some of the stuff we talked about is not okay, right? It is not okay to be bidding on cards that you have no intention of paying, or for you to try to design a system where, you're trying to prop up a price with the intention of selling it, right? Pump and dump. The dump part is not okay. But what was interesting about this and what I love about this space and social media and Instagram is, yeah, we have some trolls. Yeah, we got some people who just, want to say angry and mean stuff. But we have some smart people in the hobby. We really do. We have some smart folks and some dentists. But there are some smart people too. But so I get to have some fun conversations with these guys. I really do, back and forth on this stuff. And a lot of it is disagreeing. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that they say, but it's fun to have that discourse. It's fun to, even though you disagree on certain points, to kind of hear someone else's point of view and not be like, all right, you're wrong. Screw you, I'm blocking you. Try that every once in a while. It's always good to get out of your comfort zone and actually listen to the point of view of somebody else and see what they say. So title is Manipulation Okay. And we talked about some interesting things, right? About like the Star Jordan 101. But let's kind of recap one of the better conversations I had, right? Because, somebody reached out to me and compared what's going on in sports cards now to what happened a while back in the art market. And let's use a real world example. Let's say that that there's a card that someone owns quite a few of, right? And they have means, they have money, and they want to defend the price action on that card. The question is that wrong? Is that unethical? So let's flush it out a little bit. I'd love to hear what you guys think after we spell this out. Let's use, it doesn't really matter what card we use, right? But let's use Michael Jordan PSA 10 Fleer 86. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter the card, right? Let's just use a card. And the card in PSA 9 is worth $30,000. It slowly climbed. It was worth 10, 15, 20. Now it's a $30,000 card. And over the course of a couple of years, there's 50 of them, let's say. One collector has managed to amass 10 of the 50 and bought them for 18, 22, all the way up to $30,000. And they say, you know what? They believe that this card is worth at least 50 in that grade because they're rare and it's a gold and you name it, the whole deal. I don't know, use the LeBron James refractor. It doesn't matter. If you need to have a card in your brain, that's fine. But now, next one that comes up for sale, this person bids up to $50,000 for the card. 50 grand. They have that kind of money. They bid up to 50 grand for the card, with the intention of paying for it if they win. And they win. There was somebody who bid 48, but didn't get to 50. Now, the next one that comes up, this person bids up to 50, and maybe the person beats them and it's 52. Or maybe it's known that this person is willing to pay 50 for the card. Is there anything wrong with that? Compare it to the stock market. Different if you're amassing that type of a percent. If you own more than 5% of a stock, you clearly are, you have to report it, right? But what if a company wants to buy a piece of, stock in a company. They want to buy a percentage of it, and they keep buying, and they say, you know what? We have enough of this now that we don't think the stock should fall below $50 a share. So they put in a big block, and anytime it hits there, they are buying. Their share, their wall, as you call it, is there. Their buy order is there. And they'll keep buying with as much money as they have, and the stock goes up from there, it bounces from there, because people have to pay more to own it. They're defending their investment, and they're basically saying this card, this stock, this item should not sell for less than this. And if it does, I'm willing to buy it. Is there anything wrong with that? The scary part for me comes with the two things that follow, especially in our space and less in the stock market. In our space, it just takes one data point for everybody to say this is worth this. Look no further than Jeff Wilson saying that the Star PSA 8 Jordan is worth $244,000 because one card sold for that. One sale. One potentially outlier sale. One potentially compromise sale. Who knows? But one sale that was significantly higher than the sales before it, that's what the card's worth. That's tough. In an illiquid space, that's tough to say that that's what the value is based on one item. And the difficulty for me is what follows after that. It's, well, what happens then to the people who want to buy after that card? Well, you got to pay 50 because somebody else is defending it. But more importantly, if there's one person who owns 12 out of 50 or 15 out of 50 or that good of a chunk, at some point in time, doesn't it follow that they're probably going to sell it? And when that happens, and they're no longer there defending the $50,000 price point, doesn't that mean that it's most likely going to fall after that? The price is going to fall, and anybody who bought in anywhere near that price is going to see that they can't really sell it for that because the market was being propped up by this one person. So are they doing something wrong? I mean, they would tell you no. They want to pay $50,000 for each one of these cards that come up, and they're allowed to sell it whenever they want. It's probably going to be hard for them to sell it if they were the only ones buying it. But what happens then? What happens? Do people buy in at 52, 54, 58 because there's a floor there, and if you want that card? It's an interesting psychology thing, right? Because does this person now create demand? It's almost like, a CEO going on CNBC and talking about their stock and saying how well their stock did at an investor day. Saying, look at the earnings that my company made. Look at this. It's sort of like the person who's paying $50,000 for that card defending their investment thesis, saying that there's not that many of these out there. There's only 50. There's really only 40 available for you because I have 10. You're not going to be able to buy them at less than 50 because I'm buying every one I can. I think it's really worth 80. And then all of a sudden, people buy more and more and more. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so. As long as the person's willing to complete their transaction. But because the hobby is so different from the liquid stock market, it's probably not known that this person is out there defending the market and buying all of these, right? They're probably not doing it out in the open under a light and everybody knows this is going on. So the people who are buying these things, they don't know that at some point in time, this person could liquidate, could sell them, and just now all of a sudden the pricing was propped up on something that was not really organic. The people on the other side of it would say you need this, right? Because maybe this person is shining a light on other people out there and letting them know how good of a buy this is. And if he thinks it's worth 50 grand, well, I'm going to pay 52. I'm going to pay 55. And maybe it's now shined a light. The Star Jordan guys would take this side of the argument. It's not that it's flown because people are, manipulating that market or pumping, and it's because finally enough people have posted about it in their stories, enough people have researched it, enough people have realized how rare it is, and the price is now this major magical price discovery about the card, and the other people who are buying in have to buy it more, and that one person who was defending their investment thesis is satisfied. The interesting part about it is that a lot of people come into the hobby and don't even think about this. There are people listening to this now who don't think about this. And those are the ones that have no shot of buying a 9 anyway. 99% of you, myself included, are not buying that card, Pop 50, with $50,000 that this person is defending. No. But, and while maybe everything we've just talked about here is above board, maybe everything we just talked about here is fine, and that person who wants to buy these cards, that's their money. They want to, put it all into this one item. Maybe there's nothing wrong. Here's where the hobby goes left. Here's where the hobby gets it wrong. Joe Retail, we're going to call him, the guy who comes in and says, well, I can't afford a 9, but let me look at an 8. Oh, an 8's 10 grand. That's a little pricey too. Let me look at a 7 of this card. Let me look at a 6. Let me look at a 5, where the population's a little greater. Don't think just the Star 101, because everybody's going to come out and be like, the population's low and it's a low pop card. Okay, it doesn't matter. Just think about an imaginary card. It's a widget. It's any other card. It's 99% of the cards in the universe, whereas you get down here, these are not rare, right? The high-grade cards are, it's like a bell, right? The high-grade cards are the rarer ones. When you get to the 8s, the 7s, the 6s, there's more of these cards. And they're cheaper. And the average hobby person, the average collector, investor, whatever you want to call them, is like, all right, well, you know what I can do? I can buy that card. I can buy a 6, and they go out looking for a 6. And they don't take the time to realize that 2 months ago, before everybody was talking about this card, before the 9s were being protected, and the 9 went from a $20,000 card to a $50,000 card, the 6 they were about to buy was worth $2,000, and now they're paying 7 for it. Now they're paying 6 for it. They're paying triple the price. And the difference is that euphoria, that craziness about those top sales, that will die down. And the supply will still be there on these 6s and 7s and 5s, with no big whale protecting those and coming in and saying, hey, every 5 I'm going to buy in at least $6,000. And that's the part that the average person misses. You want to play at the top, and you want to put your money where your mouth is and say that no one should ever be able to get one of these cards for less than $50,000. And every time one comes up, you're going to shell out that $50,000 and pay for it. Well, you basically are establishing the card is worth $50,000 for as long as you're willing to do that. And you have conviction in the value proposition of that card. The difficult part is that, one, people don't realize that's going on. And because they don't realize that's going on, two, they then dip down to buy a lesser quality asset that doesn't have the same type of protection that same card at the top of the grading scale has. It's an interesting thing. It's a conversation that it's fun, right? Because a lot of this goes on, and you see some really great story posts. You really do. There are some people out there who really narrate about cards well. And the question that I kind of leave you guys with as we, I try to make these 15, 20 minutes, but the question that I leave you guys with on this is, those narrations, is it wrong for somebody to do that on a card they own? Honestly, the way I just asked that, my answer to you, hopefully you're thinking about it, and you put some comments in there, my answer is no, it's not wrong to pump a card you own. It's not. Pump is a bad word in this hobby, but really all it means is to try to inflate the value of something that you own. Try to talk about what you have and why it's worth what you think it's worth. And that pump, what I use it to mean is, somebody who's going out there and talking about the overlooked insert set that nobody saw previously. The low pop parallel that nobody knew about. It's the hyper prism by comparison to the silver, because in PSA 10 it's difficult in high grade because it has print lines. And you do the research on it, and you want to say, okay, I have this. I'd rather buy the hyper at 10% of the price of the silver, because believe it or not, the pop is lower. And you go on your story and you talk about it, and I think where it goes left is if you do it with the intention of, after people have seen this and after you've whipped up demand for this and you have, generated some buzz, you then take the very card you talked about and sold it. Again, within your right, you've made some money on it, but that part is the dump, which is just a hilarious word. There is no way you can say dump without laughing. So I'm going to laugh here. The pumping of the cards, the talking about the cards, the cheerleading about your own assets and why you bought. I mean, the hope is that if you're investing in the cards, you're picking out cards that you think are undervalued, cards that you think, you're able to buy for less than what they're worth, and you think they're going to go up in value. You pump those cards because you want the world to know why it is you made the decision to buy that card. It's the dump. It's the dump of the cards. That's the problem. So I guess if we really want to, talk about is manipulation okay, I think the subtitle on this would be, you can pump, just don't dump. I'll leave it up to you. Let me know what you guys think. Again, episode today, the Hobby with Cage, episode 160, brought to you by our sponsors, Bleecker Trading, My Slabs, and Arena Club. Bleecker Trading, Hobby Rip Night, September 14th. My Slabs, auctions this Friday and every Friday. And Arena Club, for those repacks, they're dropping some at the end of the week. Slab packs. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon. I'll have another episode out soon. Let me know what you think. Send me a DM on this if you want to have a conversation. I've had some really great conversations about this with some folks in the hobby. And, it opens my eyes to kind of, a different area, a different way of thinking. Maybe before a couple of days ago, I would have said even pumping is bad. But I understand some of the arguments that some folks are making about it. And, it made me want to, do this episode and kind of share those back and forth conversations I'm having with some pretty respected people in the hobby with you guys. This way you can be part of the conversation too. Talk to you guys soon.